Hi, I'm Sterling Edwards. Thank you for joining me again. Let's spend a few minutes talking about how to really manipulate your brush. One of the great things about being a workshop teacher is I meet a lot of people who are struggling with watercolors. Some are more advanced, some are just beginning. But I see a lot of the same problems crop up no matter where I go. People have the same problems, and it gives me a chance to think of some really good topics that I can address in these free demos to kind of help you out a little bit. This is a great opportunity to get some ideas on how to do everything from charging color, positive shapes, negative shapes, how to do dry brush, what have you. But what I want to do today is talk about manipulating your brush. Now by that I mean how you hold the brush and how you move the brush. You can create just a endless variety of shapes and techniques. And quite often in workshops I'll see people taking a brush and they're just giving it this motion, or else they're giving it this motion, and that's all they do. Everything is either across or down. And they miss some really great opportunities to come in and get some interesting effects by taking the brush and being a little bit more creative with it. Now this is a piece of 140-pound Fabriano Artistico paper. It's a cold press. I've got it taped down with masking tape. Now I'm going to spend just a couple minutes using a flat brush and also a round brush, showing you various ways to hold the brush, manipulate the brush, and I want you to look at the different variety of techniques you can get with the same brush. You don't have to go back and forth picking up 20 different brushes to do a painting. Quite often you can do a painting with 2 or 3 brushes if you just know how to use them. So this might give you some ideas. Let's start by taking a little bit of violet. This is permanent violet bluish. And just give you an idea what you can do with a flat brush. Now this brush has a lot of spring and it also has a very sharp edge on it. When you get a nylon brush or a flat brush, make sure it has a sharp edge and get a brush that has lots of springs. When you press down on it, when you let up, it springs right back to its original shape. That will save you a lot of aggravation as opposed to the brushes that are very, very floppy. Now there are some people who use these floppy brushes and do wonderful things. I've never had much luck with them, but that's a personal choice. I like one that has lots of spring, and I'll show you why. I can take this brush and really press down on it, and you see the brush bending. But I can press up, and depending on the amount of pressure I put on that brush, I can make interesting shapes. But the brush always springs back to its original shape. I can use the brush to stipple with. Now quite often I'm doing things like palm trees, for example. If I want to do a palm front, I can take a brush like this, a flat brush. I'm just tapping the brush. And I can make very interesting suggestions of palm fronds or palmetto bushes or something like that. By just taking the brush and tapping it, rotating, pivoting a little bit, you can get some beautiful effects with it. Another thing I like to do is what's called scumbling. Scumbling is using this part of the brush, not the end of the brush, not the tip of the brush, but actually the flat side of the brush. I'm holding the brush parallel with the paper, and I'm literally just letting the weight of the brush rest on the paper. I'm not really even pressing down. And I'm just letting the brush kind of drag across the surface. This is a wonderful technique for painting foliage, painting lots of leaves. If you want to paint the edge of a cloud, this is a wonderful technique. But you've got to get used to using it all different directions. Get your hand moving different directions. Don't just go like this the whole time. Your brush strokes have a very directional, systematic layout to them. Get used to taking the brush, pushing it, pulling it, going like this, coming around like this, and just really get used to using it at all different angles, back and forth, just letting the weight of the brush kind of rest on the paper. You get a beautiful effect, which could be the outline of a grouping of trees or something. It just has a nice feel to it. Now when I'm doing dry brush, I use a much thicker paint. And again, I'm laying the brush almost parallel to the paper and just very lightly pulling it. You get a nice dry brush effect. So often people go like this, and they still get a dry brush, but it's a much heavier application of paint. If you'll let the brush just rest on the paper, just the weight of the brush, put a little bit of pressure, but not much, it's amazing the effect you can get using dry brush. Even on this Fabriano paper, which is it's a relatively smooth paper. It has a little bit of tooth to it, but not like some of the other papers. On the other papers, like some of the artist papers, you can get this, it will really magnify this effect as far as this dry brush by just very lightly pulling that brush across it. So there's a lot of ways you can manipulate a brush. Now the round brushes, I use quite often for painting people. Round brushes are wonderful, and I paint primarily with flat brushes. But on occasion, I will use a round brush just to get some nice round effects. If I'm painting people, for example, something like this, you know, there's all kinds of ways I can introduce people into my paintings by just taking that brush and learning how to press down on it like this to make a rounded shape, dots for the head, a couple lays coming down. It's just fun. Now, while that shape is wet, why not charge something into it? Here's another color. Here's some Cupid Green Deep. I'm just popping it in a few places. Maybe I can put a ball cap on them. It's fun. It's fun to take a brush and play with it and see what you can do. Now, the other thing I want to do is using a number 6 rigger brush. And again, this gets into the brush technique. Rigger brushes are wonderful because they're very, very skinny. They hold a lot of paint, and you can get a very long, uninterrupted line depending on the brush. The rigger brushes, if you'll get used to pulling a little bit, stop, these little jerky motions, it gives a piece more interest than just having a strong line. For example, if I'm painting a tree branch, the branch comes up, comes out like that. Every time I stop, where there's a little jerk in the brush, that's a great spot for another branch to come out. A lot of things you can do with a brush. Keep these things in mind when you're working on a piece. Because like I said, quite often I see people just working on a painting and they're just going like this. Everything is like this. And the piece winds up being very horizontally dominated with horizontal brush strokes. If they'd just taken the time to get in there and work that brush a little bit, different angles, do some stippling, a little bit of scumbling, it's amazing how much more creative and fresher work would look. I hope this helps you. If you have a chance, look at my website, sterlingedwards.com. There's lots of examples of all these techniques. And while you're there, be sure and check my workshop schedule. I might be coming to an area near you. I'd love to meet you at a workshop. Thank you.